What are we making today at Bella Culinary Adventures? Well, it's National Grilled Cheese Day, and what goes better with grilled cheese than a little tomato soup? I've come up with a much simplified version of it using a few fresh herbs, some wonderful San Marzano tomatoes, and this incredible olive oil that we acquired from our good friend Sandra Lotti's cooking school, Toscana Saporita, just outside Pisa in Tuscany. The recipe will be included, but we'll show you some of the steps as we're making it. So what you see in here is approximately 14 ounces of San Marzano tomatoes. I was using the whole plum tomatoes with their juice. But to start with, I heated some extra virgin olive oil with 1 clove of garlic, about a quarter of a teaspoon of crushed red pepper, and a quarter teaspoon of black pepper. The trick is you put the spices and the garlic into cold olive oil and then bring the whole thing up all at once. When the garlic begins to brown and caramelize, it doesn't burn, it doesn't scorch. Then I dropped in the herbs, which in this case is there was a good handful of Italian parsley and 2 sprigs of lovage. I'll talk a little bit more about lovage in the notes, but that's one of the advantages of having an herb garden at home, is you can grow unusual herbs that you may not find. If you don't have access to lovage, it actually tastes a lot like celery. So you could either use finely chopped celery, celery leaves, or in a pinch, no pun intended, a little celery salt. For a tomato soup, instead of a tomato sauce, you want to add 1 cup of your favorite broth. I love the whole range of Pacific broths here. First of all, they're right in Tualatin, so they're locally made. This one has good flavor, and as you can see, we're using about 1 cup. I'm going to add it now. There, 1 cup, just like it said. And as you can see, that drops the temperature a little bit. Anytime that you bring things up to a very high temperature, you can drop it by adding something cooler. So I'm going to stir through here, turn it down to a simmer, about a 3 on a scale of 9, and we'll let that go while I make the sandwiches. By the way, handy tip, if you only use part of a container of broth, as I have here, write the date that you opened it. Then when it goes into the refrigerator, you can know at a glance whether it's still good. Try to use it within a week. As long as you keep it refrigerated, it's safe. When it's something as simple as a grilled cheese sandwich, you want to make sure that you use only ingredients that you really like. I mean, let's face it, a grilled cheese sandwich is basically a slice of bread, a slice of cheese, and another slice of bread, plus a little butter. So for this, I'm sticking with the 21 whole grain Dave's Killer bread. It's got a great texture, little nuts and seeds in it, so there's some crunch, lots of fiber, very few carbohydrates, and it toasts beautifully, whether you're doing it in a skillet or just in the toaster. It's also local, which applies to my other main ingredient here, Tillamook sharp cheddar cheese. I think we're less than 100 kilometers from the Tillamook factory right here on the Oregon coast. It's a great classic sharp cheddar. They make a lot of other cheeses, but this is the best one for my purposes for sandwich. The one exception to the local, at least in the sandwich department, is this butter, which comes from Brittany in France. If you don't yet understand the magic that is French butter, you owe it to yourself to find out. We purchased this at Trader Joe's, but you can find it, French butter, especially from Brittany, at finer stores everywhere, as they say. To return briefly to our tomato soup, which is smelling heavenly, by the way, as you can see, I pretty well mashed the San Marzano tomatoes, but they'll still be in big chunks. If you wanted it smooth, you could always use an immersion blender or run it through a food mill, but frankly, I'm going for the slightly chunky, more rustic style. So one of the challenges with spur-of-the-moment cooking, like let's have a grilled cheese sandwich, is that the butter may not be soft enough to spread on the cheese. Classically, yes, you'd have room temperature butter, you'd drop it on the back of or on each side of your sandwich, and then you put the sandwich in the skillet. In this case, we don't have that luxury because I didn't have any butter already out. But it turns out it works every bit as well to do it as if you were frying an egg or frying anything else. Drop the butter in the skillet. This is my wonderful, very, very well seasoned 35-year-old aluminum skillet. And when it's fully melted and you still got the bubbles, drop in your bread. Okay, as you can see, I've just added a little bit more butter in there because I've been peeking, and the bottom half of this bread is perfect. So we're going to turn it. And yes, that's what you want a grilled cheese sandwich to look like. You'll also see that the cheese is beginning to melt. I mean, how hard is it to make a grilled cheese sandwich? It's such a simple thing. It's all about technique, but mainly it's all about getting the ingredients you like best. So there you have it. A wonderful fresh tomato soup that took altogether about 15 minutes from start to finish. As you can see, I've added a dollop of sour cream because I just love it. Sour cream improves so many things. And behind it, the star, National Grilled Cheese Sandwich Day. Buona degustazione. Oh, one thing that I have to make sure that you know, you didn't see me salt the soup, but I did. I added salt a couple of different times to bring it up. Of course, you want to make sure that you taste the seasoning, whether it's salt and pepper or anything else, while you're cooking. It also helps you adjust. If you want to have more acid, you put in lemon juice or vinegar. If you want to have less acid, you could add cream. You know, there are a lot of different ways that you could do it, but the salt is important. And one of the things I learned from Ralph, my stepfather, who grew up in delis and restaurants, is canned tomatoes, the level of salt varies from brand to brand. So you always, when you're cooking with tomatoes in particular, you want to make absolutely certain that you taste it so that you know how much salt to add. This, by the way, I got the salt perfect. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm going to have to post this under the heading of "This one weird trick will make sure you never buy canned tomato soup again." This stuff is amazing.